Well, hello everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar on moving from InfoPath to Nitrous Studio. We use the summer image of sailing away because you want to leave InfoPath behind and move to a modern form solution such as our Nitrous Studio. So that is what this webinar will be about. And let me do some introductions and then we'll get going. I am Scott Restivo, the president and CEO, founder actually of Croquet Software. We've been around 22 years. And we have a number of products that we sell, a number of tools and programs in the Office 365 and SharePoint space. We're well known in a particular crowd. We've gone to a lot of shows when they were going on before COVID. We have a lot of customers all over the world, pretty well established in this space. What we do is we have these areas we focus on. Of course, we're a Microsoft preferred partner. We're California certified small business. Our headquarters are in the Bay Area of San Francisco. That's where I am right now. We have a number of out-of-the-box solutions that run in SharePoint on premises. That's 2013, 2016, 2019, and in Microsoft Office 365 and Teams. And there's attention in both worlds. We're not just solely in one or the other. We do both. We still have a lot of customers in SharePoint on premises and people who don't want to go to the cloud or can't or have some reasons for security or compliance reasons not to go there. So very active SharePoint on premises world for what we're doing here, and also very active Microsoft Office 365 and Teams. And with Teams, we're going more into the bots world here. So we have those applications that are out of the box. There's help desk, asset management, purchasing, contract management, onboarding, work orders, and several others that apply to common business purposes. And I'll show you some of that on our website later. But this focus is not on the applications, it's on Nitrous Studio. Nitrous Studio here is the no-code, low-code forms and workflow solution that we came up with. It powers up all our applications, and it also is a standalone tool that you can subscribe to or purchase, and then use to build forms and workflows. And a lot of people are doing that and very enthusiastic with it, and we keep growing it. And we really get a lot of feedback that tells us what we need to add to it. So over the years, it's grown to be a very sophisticated tool. I'll show you some features of it and how it's expanded with the new visual workflow designer and things like that. And it's very, very well adapted for InfoPath replacement, as well as any other legacy program like Access or Lotus Notes or something like that, but even InfoPath particularly. We also do custom solutions, and we have some AI and bot services that we are edging into as people get interested. We've been doing it for several years, and the interest is just growing as people adopt Teams, as they adopt more of a cloud-based solutions, and they want to have some modern, some really leading edge stuff going on with bots and chat bots and ways to incorporate that into the applications. Okay, so now let's take a look at InfoPath. As you may know, you may well know this, you may be aware of this, but just cover the basics here, is that there is InfoPath 2010, that's support, even extended support completely ended. InfoPath 2013, mainstream support ended in just a couple months ago, July 13th, 2021, and extended support goes on to 2026. But really, that doesn't mean much. It means it's time to get off of any version of InfoPath you're using. And here's a graphic, a timeline of what was created when, and you can see that InfoPath was created just after their first iPod, but before the iPhone, before any cloud-based service like Amazon or Azure, well before Office 365. And then Microsoft at one point threw up its hands and said, look, we can't, this is such outdated technology, 10 years old, that we can't adapt it for the new world that we're living in now. Starting in 2013, they saw that there was the mobile world of the iPhone and the Androids. There was a cloud-based world of the Azure and Amazon Web Services and Office 365. And they found InfoPath just couldn't keep up. It was built on older technology. And we developed our Nitrous Studio. Of course, we've been developing Nitrous Studio all along as web parts and add-ins. And finally, we consolidated about 3 years ago into the Nitrous Studio platform. So our tool is well built for the modern world of cloud, mobile, and Office 365 Teams, as well as the modern versions of SharePoint on premises. So why did Microsoft deprecate InfoPath? You may know this, but just to cover it, it was not mobile friendly at all. It lacks responsive design. That's always been a problem with InfoPath forms. as the browsers changed capabilities and grew and came modern versions, then it wasn't able to keep up with it because 2013, we're now 8 years later, and there's been many iterations of Chrome, Firefox, and even at that time they were using IE, Internet Explorer, and now Edge came out. So the compatibility of InfoPath forms with modern browsers is very lacking. It hasn't been updated in 8 years. There's really been no development, no longer developed for 8 years. You can imagine that's forever in technology. And then it's using this outdated, clunky technology, and it's difficult to connect with web services and data sources because those also are changing their interfaces. So even if you're happy with InfoPath, maybe you're happy with InfoPath. It's not, I don't know, you could be. Just some people are happy using things that are been around a while, like Word, I don't know, Word 2000 or something. But anyway, the point here is that InfoPath is holding you back because it's not, even if it wasn't being phased out, you'd want to move off it for the new technologies that you're missing out on: mobile, cloud, modern UI, portals, AI services, and other such tools that are now available and produce a lot of modern efficiency. So if you have to make a case to your management that, hey, this is why we need to spend some money and spend some effort and resources to get off InfoPath, it's because you're missing out on the efficiencies and capabilities that are available in modern solutions such as Nitrous Studio. It'd be money well spent and time well spent to move off it, a technology that's getting on close to 10 years old. And we're even saying that's when Microsoft stopped developing it, 2013. Even before then, they weren't, they were only just keeping up. So Microsoft deprecated, more or less abandoned it, and it's time for your organization to do that too. So rule number one is stop creating any more InfoPath forms. That's hard to do for some organizations we've talked to, because what they do is the users want a form that does this and that. They want to, and they don't have any other solution. They haven't learned the virtues of Nitrous Studio or other similar solutions, and they're not ready to, build forms in the new solutions. But if you are being pushed in that direction, you want to say to your team or your management or whatever, just look, if we keep doing this, we're just digging ourselves in a deeper hole here, because we're going to have to move all those forms that I just created, if you're an InfoPath creator, into the new solutions. Well, let's just wait and get the new, the effort should be on finding the new solution, evaluating them, and hopefully, taking a good look at our Nitrous Studio as an example, as a solution that can be very beneficial. So once people realize that they have to move to InfoPath, the next questions that usually come up is, can you automatically transfer forms, data, and workflow? Forms being the UI of the InfoPath form over, data being, of course, the data, what the people filled out the forms and store all that data, and then there's workflows that run and manage the process. So, and taking them one by one, the forms, we, of course, looked into this deeply. We talked with Microsoft, we talked with many other vendors, and it just came out that it's not possible to do. Now, some people have tried it, and they come out with these kind of clunky forms that are really, really not really ready. Actually, it turns out to be more work to fix the clunky form than to start from a new form from scratch and build it up, especially with a tool like our Nitro Forms Designer, which is very easy to use and create the forms quite quickly once you get familiar with it. So it's not worth messing around with some half-baked form that was converted, if you could even get to that point with the InfoPath forms. But the thing is, if you do have the UI of the InfoPath forms, you can look at them and then replicate that quite easily using our Nitro Forms Designer, even to great detail. That's one of the challenges we had to face with Nitrous Studio, is how do you get fields to line up exactly how they used to be in the InfoPath forms using the modern solutions. And part of that's because the demands of the users or the management is that the form has to look exactly like the other one, down to quite the nth level of detail. And we've done pretty much, I think, mastered that with Nitrous Studio. So you can see, if you have some forms you want us to see if Nitrous Studio can do it in the same manner, then we'll be glad to take on that challenge and take it. It's kind of what we live and breathe here. The other thing is, if you can modify your forms, if you do have flexibility as you move from the old to the new, then you have a lot of opportunity to design a form that's much more engaging and interesting and functional, perhaps using like Nitrous Studio or any other solution. So there's good opportunity there to not just replicate the form. There's good reasons not to just replicate the form blindly. If you have to, well, that's one thing. for compliance or management reasons. But if you don't, you can modify it quite a bit. So it gives you opportunity to like revise and enhance and modernize the form if possible. Now, data is a different story. Data can be exported out from InfoPath forms and stored either in a database. We generally don't recommend it, bring it into the new system unless it's something that's still live. It's just archive data. Why clutter the new system with the old data if it can be kept in some kind of database? But you can pull the information, the data, what form, what people filled out on all the different forms, for example. The workflows we found just not possible. You're just a whole different, it's like going, well, it's not even like going from one language to another. It's like, it's just completely different world where you cannot translate that workflow that was developed in InfoPath or SharePoint Designer into any modern solution. But again, we have easy tools to build new workflows. So we have dealt with these issues for years now, and with many customers, and we can help you answer any of those questions and see what needs to be done. So the question now is not when. It's not a question of when, it's now. When to move off InfoPath. It's now. It's time to get going. It's actually past the last mainstream support of InfoPath 2013. It's not a question of why, it's how. So, we know people need to do this, and there are people doing it, moving off of InfoPath forms. Some people are, further down the pipeline, other people just getting started. And we'd like to hear anybody attending this webinar where you're at with it, and how the progress is going, what tools you're finding. This is a very big part of our company right now. We're doing a lot of InfoPath replacement projects and have done some in the past. Mostly it's people taking on Nitrous Studio, and we're giving them some training. We're giving them advice. We're helping on more of the, if there's customization issues and things like that. So we're fully engaged with them. A lot of the work's being done, though, because Nitrous Studio is so easy to use. A lot of the work's being done in-house, because people just get Nitrous Studio and they learn how to use it, and then they have the capability to make any forms of workflows they want, not only the InfoPath ones, but any new ones that they come up with too. It's not just InfoPath ones. So let's talk about replacing InfoPath. So we call ourselves InfoPath replacement experts. I don't think that's too much of an exaggeration, because we've been doing it so long. If you look at our website, we have a whole, here's Croquet Software, we have a whole section on InfoPath replacement solutions, number of videos, and I can't count how many of these webinars I've done similar, showing different aspects of what's required here. Talks I've given at shows before COVID, and we had all the trade shows, used to give talks on it. And really, it's the real world experience. We have done this for years with many customers of all different kinds and many, many forms. So we call ourselves the experts. I don't think it's that much of I don't think it's an exaggeration at all. I mean, we want to be a little, not overly conceited here or anything, but I mean, it's what we do and what we're good at. So we have a lot of experience. We have a lot of resources. We have a replacement. We have ebooks. We have webinars. There's whole web pages on it. A lot of experience, and also case studies. And whatever you need. If you need to convince management, we can get you a bunch of materials. We have conversations. We can do that. Whatever's necessary to help this project move along, if that is your project. Oh, we also have. I want to show you this. Also, we have some tools that we provide too here. Let me get this going. It's this one right here. I hope it's, here it is. So we also have this InfoPath replacement manager that we developed, a variation of our project manager. And you can see that there's a bunch of projects going on. This is just a sample data, but it's an example. Somebody had a travel request form, an announcement form, a claim form. They had like hundreds of InfoPath forms, and it's a way to help manage the progress of the conversion. So you have who's in charge of it, the name, who's the client, what department it could be, manager, due dates, sub-projects, and you have what the form details pulled from, because we can do an extract of the InfoPath database on your server. We have PowerShell scripts and other tools that will provide all the information about, and puts it into a spreadsheet, and then we import it into this tool. If you want to use it, you may have just so few forms, you can just do it without this kind of project management. But if you do, when the larger ones, we go into this thing and said what site it came from, all this information that was pulled from there, and we can record the images of what the old form looked like, and the new one, as it progresses, what it looks like, so you can get approvals and comments if needed, and then any related documentation or milestones or tasks are there. So we do. This is part of our our work here is that we develop tools, not only Nitrous Studio, but also ancillary tools that help the InfoPath migration, InfoPath replacement go smoothly, as smoothly as possible. Years of experience, complete packs of tools. We got excellent support, many free resources, and we're really invested in making sure that you get a successful migration going over. We do have this ebook, free download if you want. We can send it out to everyone on this webinar. You put your email address in the webinar so we can send it out to you. And if you're interested, and it has a guide to replace an InfoPath, it kind of gives you a sense of what one process that can be done with, how you catalog the forms. In other words, know what you have. You look at your list of forms and say which ones we need to convert, which ones need revision, which ones need further consultation with the group that uses it, etc. All that can be tracked in our InfoPath project manager, and then it goes into looking at some of the forms. Maybe you don't have to replace every form because some forms are not being used. You look at this was Lotus Notes, so it wasn't InfoPath. One Lotus Notes, it's just an example. A customer we work with, they had 1,000 Lotus Notes applications because everybody went wild just creating Lotus Notes applications over many years, and they distilled it down to only needing some 120 or something actual applications that they had to convert. If they tried to convert all 1,000, there's no need for it because no one's using the other 900 some odd, 800 or 900 whatever applications. So they were able to really reduce a lot of work by doing analysis of the forms. And also the other point is, you may not have to replace the InfoPath form with exactly a Nitrous Studio form. You might want to use one of our applications that we have here going. Instead, just go here and pop in one of our services. Let's see, our applications are right here. You could go here and just use our help desk or asset management or project management or customer support. A lot of people use the request manager as a tool for replacing the InfoPath process with a modern solution like Request Manager. It's you get it, you put it in, do a little configuration, and that replaces the InfoPath form like that. Of course, the other and most common technique, and we're working with a hospital, for example, that has many particular forms that don't fit into that list of applications I just showed you. That's just one example. Also, some lawyers and some government agencies that have very particular forms, so they will go and then have to create those with a Nitrous Studio on their own. And once they learn it, it's easy to use because Nitrous Studio is a complete set of tools that we developed over quite a few years now. No code, low code. You could say low. There's some low code if you want to add some customization with JavaScript or CSS and those kind of things. But basically, essentially a no code solution for the most part. It's low cost, easy to use. We have extensive training going on, and it's really ideal for InfoPath replacement projects. And I want to make a point here: if anyone's in government, anybody in government, we have Microsoft Office 365. We run in the commercial, the GCC, and this is a big one, the GCC High. Now that's your military and your defense and all that. And we have versions of Nitrous Studio that run in all three of these Microsoft Office 365 world, which of course includes Teams and everything else in that. And then not to ignore the other side, which is the on-premises. We're in 2013, 2016, 2019. And if they come out with a SharePoint 2022 or whatever they do, I think it's going to be, we'll make sure we work in that also. At some point, we'll have to drop off 2013, I suppose, it's, maybe at the 10-year mark. But right now, we do in all those. And it's a very popular tool here, Nitrous Studio. Got a lot of use out of it. Forms, workflows, reporting, portals. I'll show you some of it while you have time during this webinar of what we can do. So I'll get to that in a moment. Nitrous Studio forms have many capabilities that you'd find in InfoPath or any solution that you want to replace. It. Dynamic forms, responsive design, meaning it runs on mobile. Form templates, you can copy templates back and forth. You can have repeating rows and linked items and custom actions and portals. Database integration, a lot of people ask about integrating with web services or Azure functions or SQL. We can do all of that. And electronic signature, of course, is in there. We also have the workflows and workflow manager and custom actions, where you set up either simple or complex ones that are based on user input or changes to data or a click of a button, running all your common automated processes whether it's approvals, escalations, or document generate, anything that's normal part of it. And now what we came out just recently this summer, it was this really cool visual workflow designer. So what you can do is just drag and drop, and you build your workflows with gateways, with decision points and endpoints and everything else. And this has been a big boost for Nitro Studio to have this in place now, to really make it, well, somebody said I shouldn't use the word fun, but it kind of is fun. You drag and drop, and you're creating something. I'm going to use the word fun. Sorry, marketing people. It is fun for me to do. So anyway, what else is in Nitro Studio? There's portals, there's reports and dashboards, AI, artificial intelligence, such as natural language processing. We do a lot with bots that involve that. List formatting the list and how it shows up with different highlights, if it's overdue, or KPIs, or progress bars, or percentage, little icons, whatever enhances the list to make it easier for the user to identify tickets or requests or problems that need immediate attention. Email, we're doing email and email synchronization and email back and forth with from the request management system or whatever program you're using. So it's fully integrated with emails. It keeps a history of all emails. And the other thing we're doing now is SMS texting. Is another thing we added early in this year, early in 2021. SMS texting will allow you to notify people by text, and also the person can respond, say, to like type the verb, we call it action verb, like approve, and they'll send back and they'll approve a request automatically through texting. So there's a lot of cool features like that going on. And other things like the modern UI, the print manager is really awesome, has a lot of capabilities, and branding and linked items. So there's an enormous amount of things going on there. I'm going to go into the Nitrous Studio and show you some of the things in a moment. Let me just show you about upcoming workshops, because the point is that we have many tools, many support. Our support center is very comprehensive. I'm trying to say, we have chat, we have forums, we have knowledge base, and then James gives these regular monthly or twice a month sometimes workshops on different aspects of the Nitro Studio. So people are really learning and growing their knowledge. These are all free, of course, and growing their knowledge free online. Next one coming up in a couple weeks is on working with teams. And we have Nitro workflows with teams. We can create a channel, we can send them messages, and we can post adaptive cards. I'll show you that when we get in the demo. And then we're using bots also as part of that too. So kind of go into teams and bots more focus in the fall here with our workshops. We also have a number of webinars come up. We keep engaged. We used to go to shows all the time. Maybe some of you saw us at the SP Fest or the SharePoint North America conference, but of course that's been off for about a year and a half, any shows like that. But we do keep a number of online webinars once or twice a month. There's this one right now in a couple weeks, actually 2 weeks from today. There's again the one on Teams and Nitro Studio, and then we'll do more on the a more general announcement about this new visual workflow designer. We've already announced it, but we'll do another one just to put it out there again. And we have other webinars come up, such as one on the IT help desk, service desk that we provide specifically, and other such things. And those are all available up here on our website under resources. You can find out a lot of that information right here, webinars, workshops. And then under our support site, you can go to our full support center and see the wide range of tools we have here, between the knowledge base, the chat, the forum, submit a ticket, professional service, training, and also the manuals and everything else we have going, the workshops and all, tutorials and all that. So we're keeping everybody who's involved in this very up to speed on how to use it, the latest, the greatest, and a very engaged community. It's quite fun to see. All right, now let's get off the PowerPoint for it now. Let me close that, and we'll go over to the let me end slideshow is what I want to do here. So just give me a second, and let's see, resume slideshow. We want to end the slideshow, so I'll just get rid of that. Okay, I'll end that right now. There we go. And now I'm going to bring over the page here, the website, where I looked at the replacement manager. I'm going to just pop through a few programs that we, just show you some samples of what happens in Nitrous Studio, the front end. So here you got an access request system. This looks very plain, kind of SharePoint, it's in the classic view. We can also obviously do a modern view here also. It's got a priority, a list formatting showing it's highlighted, some percent complete, just some, but really what's interesting here is that the form behind it is a Nitro form that's customized according to what's needed to what should be in an access request system. So you can get these as close to um, InfoPath forms or just design it on your own as to what's needed. So, you know, this form, you got to excuse this form a little because what we do with this, and I tend to do this too much myself, I just kind of like, you know, throw the whole, everything in the kitchen sink in here just to show what's possible in a demo like this. We have our custom actions up here. We have buttons with the rounded and the different colors. We have different, you know, highlighting going on here, percent complete bars. We have repeating rows with colorful. So it's, again, it's a little bit perhaps overboard in terms of what's on it, but it's just, you know, the point here is to show what can be done and show you a range of possibilities of creating forms. Let's go to a new one and look at a new item. And the new item will show some of the, these are basic features, but they're there. It's the cascaded lookup, the ability to have dynamic forms and all that with Nitrous Studio. So we're going to go here and here's the form. The same form, it's just this is a new version of it with all these different tabs at the top. You can see here categories to show you, you know, cascade lookup. If you have database and you choose that, it's going to have a different list than if you choose a network, it's a different list, cascade lookups. That's pretty obvious, but here's another thing about this. If you see there's no SQL tab up here right now, if I choose the SQL, it's going to pop up an SQL tab, a SQL tab here, and you can then fill in that information right there. If you wanted, if you choose a different one like Oracle, then the Oracle one would show up. Or if you don't want, you know, database and you don't want any of those, you can just go like SAP. I don't think has one up there. So that's dynamic. Also, another aspect, if you're adding, I mean, these are just examples. You could use this for any kind of purpose, but if you're going to add an access change, now you want to know the date, the start date, is it perpetual or temporary? All that goes in. If it's a contractor, you want to know not just the employee name, you want to know the contractor name. So it changes the contractor name with the company and that. If you choose the contractor, it's going to fill in the information from the SharePoint list of information about the company and the rep and any associates and whatever. If you go back to employee, it's going to change that. Now, this is just, you know, a small example of the kind of dynamic capabilities we can build into this program and the kind of layouts that we can have here. It's very, very flexible. It's all done under the covers by this Nitrous Studio. Now, Nitrous Studio is what I've been talking about. And now I'm showing is this is the access request system site, and these are the elements of Nitrous Studio that are in it. So if you want to go modify the forms, you go to Nitro Forms. Let me just say also, you could go right here when you're in the list, you're in the access request list, you'll see the Nitro Forms link also in the, well, let's go to Modern View. In Modern View, you see it right here in the list ribbon right here. It's also in the classic in the list ribbon up there. But anyways, either way you get to it, any way you get to it, you're going to have the access request forms designer come up. So here's the forms designer. This is what you'd be working with to build your forms. Basically, you create a site, you create a list. You can put some columns on the list. You can also create columns right here inside of the forms designer, either standard column or one of our special Nitro columns. And then you see over here, and all those fields, the columns are listed right here, and then you just drag them onto the form somewhere, you know, like wherever, and then you can drop it on. There it is. Now you can have this form in you have many ways to lay out this form using our controls up here, which are tabs or tables or lines. You also have the ability to use tabs or sections and also set themes for different colors. So you have a lot of capabilities going on here. Let me show you some of the possibilities. Here's like a 2-column section. The SQL one has, you know, things set up like this. As a task, this is repeating rows. You have repeating rows. I'll show you that in the back. I'll show you right now. So if you go here and you open up one of these, you want to add tasks, it's now pulling in tasks. It's parent-child. A lot of people ask, is that parent-child? Yeah, it's parent-child. Parent-child capabilities here, if the tasks are right here. If I want to add a new task, new item, I can go here and create a new task that's automatically related to this request. It may be like go grant Sally access to something or whatever needs to be done, whether it's a maintenance task, an access request task, or all like that. All that's set up inside here the form. So you say here, okay, what list do we want to go with here? Just as an example, you set it up. You say, okay, we're going to go to the associated task list. We're going to have the way they're coordinated each other is by request ID. You can even change what the button says. I'll do that right now. The task instead of item, it's going to be task now. Apply that. So now this will say new task instead of new item, and you can change the colors of these. You can change many different ways you can stylize the form to look really nice. Oracle, I put a table in to show you that you can do tables with different headers and fields and things like that. It's not complete. I never filled in all the other boxes, but you can. And you have a signature if you want. And you have, here's one that's kind of an interesting layout. Again, this is a sample of what's possible, just some of what's possible with the Forms Designer and how you can lay out your forms. So here's one that looks like this with different layout and buttons on the side. And then there's a table of records and all kinds of things you can do in the Forms Designer to make it look the way you want. All this is done simply by going here to add a table or add a section or a tab, add the controls to it, and then other form settings like automatically fill in user information, fill in information from external data columns. Then you can also add buttons on here, and this here's a submit button, for example. That submit button will go to a particular custom action, and it'll run that custom action when the person clicks the button called submit, which you set up here with the word submit with a particular icon right here. You choose your icon. You can even choose the style of the button and also who gets to see the button also. It doesn't have to be everybody. So you can say here, like if it's an approved button, only show that button to people who are like approvers. You also preview the thing. You can preview the form on the desktop. Let's just choose an example. No, be all groups, SharePoint groups, let me say. Okay. You can do different security trimming in your preview to see what it would look like to different groups. It's pretty cool. And then you could say it was a desktop, tablet, or mobile device. And then you might want to change your form to match what it's going to look like on a mobile device. So many capabilities. I'm just barely scratching the surface here on what's possible in the Forms Designer. Just to give you a taste of what Nitrous Studio can do just in this one particular area. And here you have this request system going. Now, there's a couple other things I was going to show you, like here's an expense report system that's set up with expense reports. And a new expense report might come in. This is all just built in Nitrous Studio. We had this Summer Breeze series this summer where there were 3 webinars, June, July, and August, on building different things inside of Nitro, and this was one of them. You can see the recordings of the webinars if you wish. And this was one on building an expense report. And I focused mostly on stuff like how the approval goes. So what you're seeing right here is mostly you're seeing the user interface for filling it out and creating, attachments and saying, hey, I flew over to, I took an airline to on American Airlines to wherever, and it costs that much money, then add it to there, and it becomes one of the expense items right here, and then it totals it up. So if we look at one of these, like the New York City trip, for example, here, you can see that it has a bunch of expense items associated with it, and the total is totaled down here. The amount is totaled, aggregated down here. It's from the admin account, and then it could go in. It could be a signature if they want. Then it goes into approval process from there, and the person would go ahead and have the opportunity to approve it or not. And once it's approved, the workflow would go over to like financial to fulfill it, and all that is done behind the scenes. If you go to the Nitro apps for this particular application, expense report, you now have the ability to create, of course, the form like I was doing in the other one, but you also have these custom actions going on here. And the custom actions are, approval, deny, submit it, you know, all these different things going on. So we look at like submit an expense report. What's going to happen when you submit it? That's when, you know, here's our workflow designer with a very simple workflow where you notify the manager and you update the approval status. And then once it's approved, you would go here and run the approval workflow. Automatically it would run when it says approve the leave request and notify requester. Well, this is very simple. There's an enormous number of actions that can be added on here. Anyway, you just simply like put it over here. Here you go. Like here, let's say. Or if you want to add a gateway in, you can do that. Let me get this better. Like that. Like that. You can add a gateway in if you wanted to put a gateway in, which is like saying a decision point. I'm going to spread that out. Let's go right here. So you can say, okay, now another branch would go over this way, one branch that way, and pretty soon you can have a pretty complex workflow going there, and very simply put up. So whatever you need it to do to perform the process that you needed to perform there, notify the people you need to notify. Another example of this kind of thing is our leave request system. And not ours. What I meant is this is something I created during the Summer Breeze webinar we had. I think that was the first one in June. We figured leave requests would be good in June because people take leave for the summer. So you can see it's another example of something that was created in Nitro in a matter of just a few hours, really, just to put these different pieces together. You create a list with some forms and with some columns, I mean, and then put it in a form. And then you have this going on. And what happens is it will go to the approver, and the approver will then have an opportunity to approve it, and it goes through the process and does that. Again, this is powered by the Nitrous Studio that's behind leave requests. So you can go here, and people with certain rights, wouldn't be every user, would have the ability to modify the workflow or the custom actions. These, I guess I should have updated this before, but anyway, it's the forms and the custom actions. You know, any other actually of the Nitrous Studio tools are available to, if you want to print out a leave request, for example, you could use our print manager, and then have all that going. So you have a doctor's visit. Here we go. You can print it. You have certain print templates. If you needed to print it, you can run reports. You can do all kinds of different ways of doing these different things with Nitrous Studio to make it a really truly powerful InfoPath replacement that brings real good efficiency to your organization. So you know, this is something that is very, very useful, very, very flexible. Here's another one, a project dashboard. This was another one of those Summer Breeze ones I did. Here's a dashboard showing you all the open projects or open tasks. Really kind of a task management with a project as the parent and tasks as the children, you could say. So here is one of our tiles and dials, one of our features. You can come in and you click it, you see all the 7 projects that are, what was that, overdue, I think. Open, no, it's open, sorry. The open ones. Now this one's a little more sophisticated because what happens is when you create a project, let's go ahead and create one here. We could do a project title, let's say Vegas show in December. There actually is one, but I don't know if anybody is actually going to have it these days, but who knows. So, you know, several people are on the team. Pavan and maybe James are here on the team. It's a marketing department, and it's a type of trade show, right? So there are no tasks here, right? Created at the moment. It's going to be, let's say the end date would be December 2nd, just to put something in there. So I go ahead and create this. You know, I can even put trade show details if I want to begin, when it begins, when it ends. All just something I did to show people what could be done in Nitrous Studio with some issues, some documents, but trade show details. We'll leave it like that for now, and we'll go down here and create the project. Sure, you want to create it. That's a custom action. You have the option to ask for a confirmation message if you wish. You don't have to show all these different things here. What it's doing is creating a, we're going to assign that to, who should do that? That should be Pavan, I think. Pavan gets to develop the booth design. And there it goes. It's creating all these different tasks automatically. It's all done by our workflows and our custom actions behind it. It created a channel in Teams. It looked as if it's a trade show or not. If it is, it creates a booth design. It arranges it creates these 4 tasks and notifies the project team that they have this new thing going on. So if we go here and look at the Vegas show in December, what's happened here is that we now have all these 4 booths. I mean, four tasks. One of them is design booth, and it was assigned to Pavan, which is the name I put in, and we can calculate how many hours and estimated in actual hours it's all taking. And there it is, waiting for somebody to take action on it. And if they complete each task, they can mark it complete, and that could notify the next person in line, or they could be doing these simultaneously, concurrently. I mean, so it really depends on how you want to arrange your tasks at a subtle level. But let's go here and look under the covers a little bit how this is done in Nitrous Studio, and we can see that again we have the Nitrous Studio underneath available for people to use to develop what they want. And let's go right to this custom action here. That was the create project button I just pushed, and you can see that here's what the workflow does. This is simplicity. I mean, it looks difficult. I don't know if it looks difficult, but it looks, I'm covering a lot of ground, I should say, but it's actually, once you get used to it, it's very, very easy to do. So we have this start, which is when I push the button, create project. It's gonna go here and make a decision. Is it a marketing project or not? If it's a marketing project, it follows this route. It creates the Teams channel right here under general. Vegas show in December, it created that Teams channel right there in real time. Then it'll go over here to, is it a trade show or not? If it's not, it just goes notify the team and goes home. And if it is, it goes create these 4 different tasks. Each one of these tasks are defined inside this add list item action by what columns and what things you want on it, and all that is defined quite easily. So they create this automatic task. This one actually, I should have stayed on it one moment longer, because it does have this user input possibility. It's asking, it asks the person push the button, who do you want it assigned to? That's what the user input does right there. So with this, you make this chain of actions going on quite easily. And then you can also run a debug on it, which would run through each section of it and tell you if it's successful or not, or if there's some kind of problem or question there. And you can set up a lot of other factors here in this workflow. But all that happens very simply because you're in the projects list here in your Nitro form, and you put a button. I mean, a person put a button on the form down at the bottom. That was a custom action right here, create project, and that is set here in the button settings to launch the custom action of create project, which you can, if I click this, I'll go to the same place I am over here that's showing the custom action. So with that little bit of work, you have a button that will generate 4 tasks, notify the team, create a Teams channel, all done very simply inside this custom action designer, just by deciding which of these actions you want to pull over here. Here's the create Teams channel one right here. Send a message, post an adaptive card. Quite a lot of capability built right in there, and this is how you can get off InfoPath or any other legacy program quite easily by building these nice forms and then powering them up with the workflows behind the scenes. We also have a workflow designer that will run on automated on certain timers, such as due dates come and due, or the contract's going to expire, or the item has not been modified for X number of times. I'm not sure that I had any good printouts, but you can make these really beautiful printouts and documents also from this stuff with our print manager. Now, another aspect of Nitrous Studio, when you're in the Teams world and Office 365 world, I hope a good number of you are, we have a bot that runs inside of Teams. And I want to show you this before we, in this part of the webinar. There's a command you can have here in the bot. The bot would just run. Once you install it in Teams, it's there on the side. You could see our webinars coming up for more details. I only covered basics right here, but in the webinars coming up later in this month, early October, we'll go into more details how all this is set up. It's pretty straightforward. What happens is you install it, it becomes an app, you pin it to the side, or you can call it from the top by a search, but most people would pin it to the side and have these commands ready. So one thing this is what I want to show you an example right here. So all these commands are set up in the bot configuration. We put every command, we put everything here just to show in a demo, but one of them is submit a leave request. So what I've done here is I've gone from SharePoint to Teams and showing you how our products are fully integrated with Teams as well as SharePoint. Now, if you're on premises, the bot's not available, but in Office 365 it is, because it uses the Azure bot service and has to make that connection up there to power up what the bot does. But we have all the interface and all the commands is done inside of NITRO Studio's bots configuration tool, and then you can set these things up to do stuff like this, ask for a leave request. So it's going to be October holiday, right? And the person's gonna, this is Pavan, no, this is admin account right here. So it's gonna be earned leave, and they're gonna start in October on the, say the 4th, and they're gonna go to the, the end of that week, which would be the 8th, I guess. And they're gonna put description, need the week off for family travel. I don't know, they're gonna go see they're gonna be a bunch of leaf peepers, right? Leaf peepers, go see them, whether you're in East Coast, you go to Vermont or Colorado, go up see the aspens. That's what they're gonna go do, right? Take a vacation, go see the leaves. Hard to believe it's almost fall like that, but so now they're gonna submit it. Now this is all done in Teams. The back end of this is a SharePoint application, but it's all done in Teams with this bot. Request was created successfully. Okay, there it is. Now, there has to be approved by somebody. So it's going to be approved by James. And this browser over here is logged in as James. See, JR, it's different. So I switch browsers in order to log in as James, in order to be logged in and show it as James. James is the manager of admin account. Hope that's not confusing, because admin account normally is the head top level account, but it's just a name. Just take it as a name. It's a demo. So Joe Schmo admin, let's call it that, needs approval from James to go on his October holiday. And look at this, look at our bots doing right here. It's saying, this could be on a mobile phone. James is on, I don't know, he's out somewhere and he gets this notice on his Teams, looks at his phone or desktop or whatever, and he gets approve or deny it. He can actually click here and look at the actual request itself, which sits in a SharePoint list, but he can sit here, approve it or deny. Well, he's gonna be a nice guy and approve it. He can put comments in, have fun, or whatever he wants to put here or something, and then does okay. And all this is happening in Teams. Now, once that's done, we go back to Pavan here, and this just showed up right now. Your request is approved. Earn leave approved by James. Now, this is not like some kind of magic I'm trying to bedazzle you with. If James was over in the other room and we could switch screens or another office, I could show you like, hey James, show your screen, then back to mine. It's just easier in a demo to just have two browsers going. But basically, they're like two different people two different teams have interacted with each other here. The admin account teams and the James's account teams. And I'm just showing you that. Here's the actual comment today at 11:48 here in California. He wrote that note, and there it is. And it's all sitting back here in the back end, right here in the request management system. October holiday is the one I just created. I had to refresh to see it, for example. You can see it was created in Teams, but here it is in right here. What it was, approved by James on 9/9/11/48. Have fun. All that's recorded right here. That's pretty cool. I think it's really makes really an interesting way to use bots and Teams. But if you had to do it directly from the form, directly from the back end, that's fine too. But we can go one step further. What we have here going on are different kinds of portals. So a user does not have to encounter our system through the back-end SharePoint. If they could use Teams like that bot I just showed you, they could send in emails back and forth. But they can also do, we have a bunch of portals, and portal design is very flexible. So I'm gonna show you some of the portals, just as some samples that I have kind of picked out that we can put in. And you can see, like, you build a page like this, or the person can put a new support ticket or new feature request, and whatever you want to put here. It's just tiles that we have, that you really, with our Nitrous Studio, can control the back end. So this is a modern UI using Crow Canyon link tiles up here, web part, along with Microsoft standard web parts of news and events, to put in this portal right here. Now, there's many other ones I can show. I'll just show you a few of these. that I was picking out last night to give you a taste of what portals you can set up with our applications. The idea is that you have a portal, which is a nice looking, modern kind of or classic interface in many different style, whatever style you want. This is some kind of different kind of style. It's like very, very flex, almost like intranet. You can make it look, or website, make it look whatever way you want, but it's really about the functionality behind it. Is that you're now able to create a email, a ticket about email, a ticket about internet access. This, I guess, is a IT help desk one. So a hardware request, software request, and all these are just tiles and dials, and you set the colors and the hover and the icons and the wording very easily, and also the arrangement very easily in the back end of our system under Nitrous Studio tiles and dials. If you went there, if I just go, where's it, Nitrous Studio, there's a tiles and dials component right here that you can go use. Let me show you a few others of these. And so you can see that maybe get some design or creativity juices going here. And you can see that you can do a lot to make it very easy and engaging for your users to come in and use our Nitrous Studio program. Here's one that's a little more subdued, I guess you could say, and same idea, different colors and things like that. Let's go over here and look at another one, and I'll do a couple more, and then we'll I think you'll get the sense of it. The sense of what we're doing here. I'll bring it over. And this is easy to design just by going into a modern UI web page and adding different web parts and different components to it. Same idea, more or less. Let me see. Here's a modern one. I think is so. If you have a classic or modern, it'll work. It doesn't matter that much. So then let's see. Another kind of self-service portal right here. This one actually has a Twitter feed in. This is our latest Twitter post. Tweet. Yeah, here's what it does. Anyways, this is showing you can put different elements into the portal to make it how you want to be. So the goal here is to make your transition from InfoPath to Nitro Studio to Office 365 or SharePoint on premises, whether it's commercial Office 365, GCC, GCC High, as smooth as possible, so that you can feel comfortable with your users, your company moving from one to the other. I know it's kind of, any change is kind of difficult. There's some kind of institutional inertia, we call it. There's some kind of hesitation or trepidation about moving. We've done this for years. We call ourselves the experts for good reason. We do it. We have many tools that can help you make this transition smoothly. We have a lot of people on staff and customers we've worked with that have done it, and we're here to help. I think I could go on and delve more and more into Nitrous Studio, but anyone interested, talk to us about a one-on-one demo and ask specific questions. I mean, we really thrive on people challenging us, or just even asking questions like, well, I've got this issue with InfoPath where I have such and such form, and it has to do this, that, and they have to talk to this database, or it has to integrate with this ERP system, or it has to, the users like this, but they don't like that. That's the kind of conversation we have. I mean, we're not hard sell. We're not the people, we're in it with you, doing it. This is what we do. We're developers. We're working with the Microsoft collaboration tools as best we can to help your organizations around the world. And if you look at our website, we have, we're with hundreds and hundreds, I don't know how many hundreds of organizations of all sizes and in all kinds of industries and all over the world. We have a big project going in Australia. We have work with the U.S. government. We're a certified small business in California, so we have a lot of state government and county work going on. We're in law firms. We're in Canada. We have a lot going on in Canada and Vancouver, Calgary, Ontario, Toronto, places like that. We have UK, big in the UK. Not, I won't say big, but we have presence there. We went to a conference in Dublin, Ireland a few years ago. Made some impact there. So, we're widespread, and we have offices in California, office in Rhode Island. We have a development group in India. We have partners in Australia, partners in UK. So we are well established and been around. We've been around 22 years, like I said, and be glad to help you out. Now, before I jump off, James, any questions came up that I could answer?
Well, there's one good question about how does Nitrous Studio compare to the Power Platform that Microsoft offers?
Yeah, that's a critical question, and I'm really glad someone asked it, because it is like, well, why don't I just go with the Power Platform? Our take on it, we used to go to these shows and people would come up just coming out of a Power Platform conference, show, like a presentation of, oh, I'm going to use Power Platform. I don't need any other forms and workflow tool. And usually at these shows, there's a number of forms and workflow vendors, and then we all would shake our heads, that's nice. And then then we have the people who come to kind of funny that people come to us and say, well, I've been using Power Platform for 2 months, and is there anything better? Anything else I can use? This stuff is darn hard. We used to say you don't have to be a developer to use Power Platform, but it sure as heck helps because it's very complicated and it's not very good support. Microsoft, $2 trillion company, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of employees or whatever. You don't get the same kind of personal attention you do with Crow Canyon. We have met, and we don't know them personally, but we have interactions with our customers regularly, and we're there to help them. And the support you get from Crow Canyon and Nitrous Studio is classes above anything you could get from a Microsoft or anything like that because of the personal attention. That's one thing, support. The other thing is we're a full range of capabilities. Nitrous Studio is complete package. You've got the forms, the workflows, the custom actions, the print manager, the UI stuff like the modern UI web parts we have. You have the ability, if you want, to go into the bots world and the Teams integration. We have that. We have the reporting. We have formatting. I mean, we give you the full package to get to build an application or solution or workflow solution for your company, whatever number of them you want. And once you buy the tenant-wide license, if you want to go in that direction in Office 365, it's unlimited forms and workflows. There's no hidden cost and like suddenly, like Nintex, it's way expensive for one thing. A lot of people are moving to us from Nintex. Say, look, I don't want to pay that kind of money. You guys got just about what they have, and why should I pay that kind of money for the 3 or 4 times what your stuff costs? And they also bill it by number of forms and workflows. We don't. Once you get, like, say, you got the 500 user tenant license, 1,000 user tenant license, that's fine. Create as many sites, forms, workflows as you like. It's up to you. And we don't sit there like, bean counting, there's 5 workflows and gotta, ring the cash register some more. It's not like that. So Nitrous Studio has no limitation. Now, Power Platform is not entirely free. I did a whole webinar on that a couple of years ago, and I should do that again. Let's mark that down. We should do another comparison webinar.
Yeah.
Well, at the time I did it, the cost was, you get some, there's premium connectors that cost money suddenly. There's what they call it, on-premise data gateways that cost money. There's a certain number of flows, what they used to call flows, Power Automates or Power Apps per site or per this or per usage. It gets tricky. All of a sudden the money starts to add up, and that's one thing. Also, the expertise is the other thing, I think. James, wouldn't you say that? Remember we saw all the shows? That was pretty much it, right? It was like, anything better?
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, exactly. So we'd have exactly that scenario come up all the time. Oh, I'll just use Power Platform. 2 months later, okay, let's come back and yeah.
Can we talk about Nitrous Studio now?
Yeah.
So
No,
he
it's a
said,
nice
give it a
idea, but
try.
it is it is easier to get from point A to point B with Nitrous Studio than with the Power Platform, for sure. And I think that the thing is, Power Platform was developed from a whole different framework than what Nitrous Studio was, of course. We're kind of SharePoint focused, and that's where a lot of the data lives. A lot of content, a lot of documents, a lot of things are on SharePoint. A lot of forms and processes can be managed through SharePoint quite easily. Power Platforms it's like a different development perspective. So that alone, I think, is what gives the Nitrous Studio a leg up over what Power Platform has, as it's designed to be integrated with SharePoint Forms and SharePoint Lists, which is what InfoPath was doing. So it dovetailed nicer. I think a better fit, I think, for move from InfoPath to something more modern is Nitro than the Power Platform.
That's a really good point, because Power Apps was really developed outside of SharePoint as a different tool, like for dynamics and things like that, mostly like a mobile tool. And then Microsoft finally realized they have to at least have something they can say is an InfoPath replacement. But meanwhile, vendors like us develop tools that are very much more capable and more focused on the actual need of InfoPath replacement. And if someone wants to talk about that in more detail and get into the costs and all that, we can. But well, I hope that answers it for now. But I'm glad to have continued that discussion, because it does come up, like it should, right?
Mm-hmm. Good.
Was there anything else?
No, that was actually it for questions in the box at this time. Yeah.
Okay, because we're at the top of the hour, and I think we'll, end it by saying, really appreciate everyone attending it. We hope that you got more familiar with Croquet software and our Nitrous Studio and what we can provide. We're accessible, we're affordable, we're easy to work with, and we're well supported. So if you want to, see what our pricing is or find out some more about our products, we'd be glad to show you. We'll send a follow-up email with a recording. But if we really would really like when people get in touch and we start to discuss the real situation and what the needs are, and we can help you if you have to sell it upsell it to management. We can give you some documentation and materials to collateral, I guess you call it, to do that. And you can check out our case studies and whatever you do to prove that to convince yourself that we're a really strong choice for this InfoPath. But mostly, I want to encourage it's time to make some move off. It's time to move in that direction. I think you got to set a goal like, okay, we got to have something going soon on this. InfoPath support has run out and it's going to run out. And knowing that, you're missing out on the new components, new features, new capabilities that are in a tool like Nitrous Studio. So really encourage to not just say, okay, that was nice, but time to move. It's time to get either your management or your company on board with something like this, because it's inevitable anyway. At some point, you're gonna have to move off it. So I hope we'll end with that, and we hope to hear from everyone. And thank you, James, for the questions and helping out, and thank you everyone very much for attending. I hope to hear from you all soon, and have a good day. Okay, bye bye.